Okay, today we're going to be talking about section 1.2, which is solving multi-step linear equations. Your learning objective is to solve multi-step linear equations using inverse operations. Okay, so before we begin, let's talk briefly about when you put on your socks and shoes, okay? I know this is going to sound kind of weird, but in the morning, when you put on your socks and shoes, obviously you put on your socks first, and then you put on your shoes. And then when you go home and you want your foot to be free, you reverse the process. So you remove your shoes and then you remove your socks, right? And it has to be in that order. Well, solving multi-step linear equations is kind of similar. Using my analogy, you have to think of x, or the variable that you're solving for, think of that as like your naked foot. And your naked foot has, or x, has other things that are attached to it. So usually the numbers that's right next to it is multiplying it. So that's like your socks, right? So the x is being multiplied by that number first. And then there's like a -5 or a +3 or whatever after it. So that's like your shoes. And so when you take those things off to get x by itself, you take it off in the reverse order. Okay, all that talk. What in the world is he talking about? Well, let's look at example 1. So we're going to solve 2.5x minus 13 equals 2. Okay, so in this example, x is like your foot, 2.5 is your socks, minus 13 is your shoes. So using inverse operations, we're going to remove one piece at a time. So first, we're going to go ahead and remove the 13 by adding 13, so that negative 13 or minus 13 and plus 13 makes 0. So now the shoes are gone. And now we got to get rid of the socks. So 2.5 times x, we get rid of multiplication by dividing. That gets that, so that becomes 1x. And then 2.5 goes into 15 6 times. And that is our solution. Okay, here are two problems that we're going to monitor your progress for. So number 1, I'd like you to solve this problem. And number 2, I'd like you to solve this problem. Go ahead and pause the video now and replay it when you're ready. Okay, here are the solutions for those two problems. Go ahead and check your answers now. All right, now let's look at the next example, example 2. So we're solving negative 12 equals 9x minus 6x plus 15. All right, sometimes before you take off your socks and your shoes, okay, you need to kind of simplify the situation first. So I don't know, maybe there's some mud on it or whatever, so you got to clean off the mud first. Okay, my analogy is starting to break down, so forget the socks and shoes now. Let's go ahead and look at this problem. Obviously, the left side of the equation is as simple as it could be, just being a simple number. The right side of the equation has 3 different terms, and 2 of them you can combine. So you should always seek to simplify one side or both sides of an equation before you start moving stuff around across the equation or equal sign. So we could simplify this situation by combining the 9x minus 6x, which gives us 3x. Okay, and now we've got a regular problem where we take off one layer at a time. Okay, so that gets rid of that. This is negative 27. And then we're going to divide by 3. So that gives us negative 9 for x. Okay. Okay, now why don't you try one of these problems? Okay, this will be monitoring progress number 3. So here's the problem. It's pretty much just like the one I just did. Okay, so go ahead and work on this problem. Pause now before you see the solution. Alrighty, here's the solution. Go ahead and check it, and if you made a mistake, try to fix your mistake, and then we will move on to our last example now. Alright, so now the left side of the equation has kind of a lot going on there, so we're going to have to simplify that before we start moving stuff to the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got here, we're going to go ahead and distribute. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times x is 2x. And then we could combine the 2 with the 3 to make 5 minus 2x. We'll go ahead and subtract that 5 to the other side now that we're simplified. And then we're going to divide that negative 2 away. So now we got 1x equals positive 13 over 2. Now, one thing I do want you to note is you'll notice that when I show work, I do a couple things. One is I try as hard as I can to keep my equal signs lined up. Okay, this is just a good organizational tool. You don't want to be doing stuff to one side that you don't do to the other side. You want to stay organized, and a lot of problems that I see with kids is disorganization in their work, which ends up confusing themselves. So try to keep your equal sign lined up. And then the other thing is to make sure that you know in each step how you got there from the previous step. So if you look at my solution, it is really easy to read as you go from the original problem to what I did to get there, to what I did to get there, to what I did to get there, and then what I did to get to the final answer. So you want to do one step at a time until you can get more advanced later on. But for now, as we're just trying to get good at this stuff, you want to try to keep it simple and stay organized. All right, hope you guys have a good rest of the weekend. Oh, sorry, not yet. There's some monitoring progress problems for you. My bad. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry I did that to you. Okay, here are some monitoring progress problems for you to try. And after you pause it and then replay it, you'll see the solution pop up. Okay, here are 6 problems for you to try. Why don't you go ahead and press pause now before I reveal the solutions. Okay, here are the 6 solutions to that problem. Go ahead and pause it and kind of look over the solutions. And now, after you've done this, have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.